In today's chapter of M.2 NVMe SSDs Gen 4x4, we're going to talk about another one from TEAMGROUP, and this right here is the TEAMGROUP's MP44. Now, you would be amazed because it ranges from 512 gigabytes up to 8 terabytes, and this is outstanding because it covers 1, 2 and 4 in the middle. Now this SSD ranges from the speeds that go up to 7.4 gigabytes per second read, and we're going to get into detail. So today what we're gonna do is we're going to stress test it, benchmark it, go with a comparison, and it does stack up pretty high without a doubt. So let's dive in first into features and specifications and quickly jump into benchmarks so you know what I'm going to talk about. As we have it right here, this is the MP44 and it's less than a millimeter of thickness when we take that into consideration. On top of it, we have a thin graphene label that helps for heat dissipation, and it comes quite handy. I mean, TEAMGROUP is always doing these graphene heat dissipators just to lower down the thermals, and that is quite alright because it's not a standard sticker just placed on your SSD. So there's that. Now for the features and specification, what we can talk about is that it's a 2280 M.2 size. It has a recycled packaging. What does TEAMGROUP have when we're talking about software? It has an SSD patented monitoring with Smart, which monitors product status and health, which gives you some indications on what is happening with your SSD. Unfortunately, it doesn't have DRAM cache, but we'll get to that part quite shortly. 2 terabytes have 2500 TBW, while the 8 terabytes has 6000 TBW. Performance, when we're talking about read, 7.4 gigabytes per second and 7 gigabytes per second write, while the 8 terabyte is 7.2 gigabytes per second read and 6 gigabytes per second write. IOPS 650K and 660K for 2 terabytes and 650K and 590K for 8 terabyte. Now let's go further. Mean time before failure is 1.6 million hours, and the price is $99 for the 2 terabyte version. Now this is outstanding, and the price for the 8 terabyte version is, I would say it's not that high when we take into consideration other 8 terabyte version. Of course, the price is high when we take the number just into consideration, but when we take it into comparison, $799 compared to others that reach 1000 or 1300 even, this is quite a catch when we take the 8 terabyte version. But 2 terabyte, $99 with everything that I'm going to mention now, and especially with the speeds, you're going to be quite interested in this one. Now to dive deeper in the SSD, we have MAP1602AF3C memory controller from Maxi, which is a quite impressive memory controller, what I managed to read up on, and built on 12 nanometer process technology and equipped with an ARM Cortex R5 CPU core, which means that it's a DRAM-less SSD. But apparently, when we take into consideration that technology is constantly advancing, in this scenario, it should be quite alright. It would be better, of course, if we had DRAM cache, but let's take it from another perspective. So it uses the latest breakthrough in TLC NAND technology known as the X-Stacking 3.0, the 232 layer structure with 6-plane NAND design, apart from the usual 4-plane, allows fast communication with data. And now let's check out the benchmark. So I used 4 scenarios: ASSD, AutoDisk Benchmark, Crystal Disk Mark, and the 90.1 gigabyte file that I usually do just for the comparison. ASSD read speeds go up to 6309.27 megabytes per second, while the write speeds go up to 5763.56 megabytes per second at the temperature of 49 degrees. AutoDisk Benchmark read speeds go up to 6.94 gigabytes per second, while the write speeds go up to 6.13 gigabytes per second with thermals at 64 degrees. And Crystal Disk Mark read speeds go up to 7445.90 megabytes per second, while the write speeds go up to 6636.83 megabytes per second with thermals at 68 Celsius degrees. Now, the thing that I said that it's going to be funny to compare the IOPS, 949K IOPS read, while we also have 866K IOPS write. More, definitely more than what they stated. 90.1 gigabyte file. We have read speeds going up to 4.11 gigabytes per second, while the write speeds 3.74 gigabytes per second. All in all, what I can say is outstanding that it's 1mm, cool that it has a graphene label here at the top to help the dissipation. And when we take into consideration the system, so I used the AMD Ryzen 9 7900X3D with ASRock X670E Taichi Carrara, and we had 2 times 16 gigs at 6000 megahertz running the system. So it brings us to this. Now, one thing I think I didn't mention, this is a single-sided SSD. I don't know about the 8TB version, unfortunately, but the 2TB is single-sided, so I guess 1TB and 512GB is the same single-sided. So yeah, quite cool piece of hardware, definitely. For this price, 2TB and all the technology packed inside, especially if you add the TEAMGROUP's smart and software for monitoring your SSD, and you can even benchmark it over there, as you can see. So it's quite cool because it gives you more options to check out your SSD. Does it have some thermal throttling or stuff like that? And I do have to mention one more thing. It did have consistency. It didn't thermal throttle. First of all, it didn't have ups and downs when we were talking about the speed, so it had a constant speed going throughout all the benchmarks, and that's all there is to it. Quite satisfied, and definitely when we take into consideration the price, speeds, and everything that you get in this little piece of hardware, best buy badge when we're talking about 2TB SSD in terms of all the specifications and features that does it have. So guys, I'll link this M.2 SSD in the description below, and I'll try to find all the sizes so you could easily just click on the links in the description, and of course if you need any of these. If not, it's all up to you. I'll leave it up to you, of course. And that's not all, of course, guys, because to support the channel, all you need to do is subscribe, hit the like button, and click the notification bell for future content so you don't miss any, right? Thank you for watching, guys. See you next time. Bye bye.